Hello, dear ones. Welcome to your April update. We have a rock and roll month. We have a lot of big changes happening this month. Welcome to eclipse season. And along with eclipse season, we have Mercury going into retrograde. We have Jupiter only moves once a year. The great sage, visionary, the teacher going to move into Aries. All this is happening in Aries, the beginning of the zodiac, but that rules something in particular for you. I'm in Hawaii, as you can see. It's my last day here. I'm over on the Kona coast. And so just wanted to bring you some aloha while I'm here. Hi, I'm Prema Gurreri. Welcome to Chart Your Path. And this is Vedic Astrology. If you have not subscribed, I so appreciate you subscribing. You just have to hit the button down below, and liking and sharing this just supports getting the information out, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And if you don't know what your ascendant or your moon sign is in Vedic astrology, I have a free chart calculator that's available to you. The link is down below for that, and then you can find out what your ascendant is. And also, I just want to mention, with all this turbulent time and this energy, I am running an eclipse special. I did this back for the last eclipse pattern. I had some great sessions with some of you. And again, this will be a half price reading. The link is down below for that, and I'm booking now, and this will run just for the month of April. So I'd love to support you in that way. So let's get into it. So the big thing that's happening, of course, is the eclipse. The first one is on the 19th, 20th if you're in Australia or Europe, but it's happening in the 19th. And remember that there is an eclipse training in the member site, and that eclipse training will talk about the shifts that the Libra Aries eclipses are bringing. I also talked about them in the 2023 update, and of course I will bring you an eclipse update as we come up to the new moon, because that's when the solar eclipse happens. So as we start the month, the big thing that we have going on, aside from all the eclipses, is of course the full moon. Now the full moon will be on April 5th, again 6th if you are in Europe or Australia, and I will also bring you another update for the full moon. We will have a full moon healing circle, but this full moon is in Virgo. And it's in the nakshatra of Hasta. Hasta rules the hands, Virgo being a place of healing, being a place of taking care of the details, opposite of Pisces. Pisces is this place of spirituality, and where we're sort of dissolving into oneness before we birth something new. In Aries, it's very expansive, not real specific. And Virgo is much more specific on the details and will help us really ground things in a big way. It is also going to be aspected by Jupiter, so that brings a lot of grace, a lot of wisdom to that full moon. And it also is this open portal for us really to clear and heal the things that are coming up that keep us from actually grounding the vision in. And yes, that could be worthiness issues, that could be our value stuff, but it can also be it's going to be very personal to you. What keeps you from actually moving your feet, taking those steps to actually bring something into embodiment or into physical manifestation in some way. So the moon is always illuminating, and there's always something to clear on that time, on the full moon, that will help us to manifest more of our heart's desires. And of course, I'll bring you an update around that. But the full moon healing circle will be on April 5th. And the other thing we have at that particular time is Mercury is going to be conjunct Rahu, the north node of the moon, the magician, as we have that full moon. So complications in communication. And with the complications in communication, it's only going to be a couple of days. So give yourself the 4th, 5th, 6th, to really watch your communication, because Rahu complicates things. You could read things in, you could have, create a dramatic situation or get entangled in one. So watch the communication, be clear in any important conversations, wait till after the 6th to have those. Now on the 5th as well, lots going on right at the beginning of the month. On the 5th, we have Venus moving into Taurus. That's our great connector, our artist, and the muse. And with Venus moving into Taurus, it's finally coming away from Rahu, away from Aries, and moving into a sign that it owns, Taurus, very grounded. It's our security, it's our comfort, it's our values in a very big way. And this is going to be very stabilizing with all the planets that are going to move into Aries, and we're going to rock and roll with the eclipse pattern. And we've got Venus at home, very strong. Venus is one of our Brahman planets, and that's going to be a good, stable force for us to hold on to our values, to really rest into our security. We're probably going to want to pull in around our security and around our resources at that time. It's always creative because Venus is always very creative. Of course, it's the artist. It's that place we want to connect. We want to, have our comfort. And I would say, on the shadow side, sometimes we have to watch out for getting too comfortable in Taurus. But with all the rock and roll of the eclipse season, I don't think that's going to be a big issue. So I'm glad it's there for stabilization for sure. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the eclipse, but I will bring you an update. So on April 14th, before I get there, April 14th, the sun moves into Aries. So it'll be in Pisces until then. It'll be Pisces with Jupiter. It's more that spiritual leadership I've been talking about. You probably hear the birds, you probably hear the wind. It's all Hawaii is alive for sure. And as we come into the middle of the month, April 14th, we've got the sun moving into Aries. Now, the sun is exalted in Aries. This is the leader. This is the leader big time in a pioneering sign, in a martial sign, because Mars does own this placement. And Ashwini is the nakshatra, and Ashwini is a very healing. It's the twins, the healing twins. So this is wonderful for your confidence. What does the sun rule in your chart? The sun will get eclipsed on the solar eclipse, but it is going to be there with Rahu, with Mercury, and the sun is exalted, it's strong. Now, sometimes we can be a little overconfident with the sun being strong here, or a little too sort of proud. But again, it's going to be with Rahu. So this is a good time for leadership. Between the 14th and the 19th, it'll be super strong in a great way. And then after the 19th, 20th, 21st or so, 22nd, then it'll stabilize a little bit more after we get past the eclipse pattern. Then we have April. Okay, Jupiter is going to move into Aries, and it's going to do that on the 21st for the next year. Whenever we have a planet moving from a water sign to a fire sign, or a fire sign to a water sign, they have to go through Gandanta. The Gandanta place is sort of this place of drowning. And Mercury just moved through that, and we've had Venus move through that. Those are quicker planets. But when it comes to Jupiter, it's going to take a little bit of time to get through that Gandanta state. So that's going to be about April 10th to about April 21st or so, 22nd, just right after the eclipse, because it's going to, again, be in this place of a little bit of feeling out of control as far as the teacher, the visionary goes. And if it's your ruling planet, again, at that time, it's great for spiritual practice. And if it feels like, you just feel a little bit like you were on with your vision and then you're not, that will pass. Okay, I just want to bring that in. It's not a big deal, but just it's a great time for new insights and such to come in. Jupiter will move into Aries on the 21st. I'll talk about that in just a moment, just so I go a little bit sequentially with our dates here. A lot going on this month. So the first eclipse we'll have is on April 19th, 20th, if you're in Europe or Asia, or of course in Australia. And this is a solar eclipse. It is at about 5.5, 6 degrees of Aries. So do you have any planets there? It is going to affect you more strongly if you do, and you have planets within a couple of degrees of 6 degrees of Aries. It'll still rock and roll that part of your chart and the house that represents. But with the solar eclipse, let's just remember things don't happen on that day necessarily. It is a shift that plays out over the next 6 months, okay? It's a Rahu eclipse. It's the magician. It's going to be a creative time, a complicated time, and you're going to want to get anything handled before the 15th of the month as far as, details and such. And I really like that about the full moon coming in, because we've got that time of the full moon in Virgo helping us with the details and the healing. And then we go into this unstable time about 10 days after that. So again, I will bring you an update about this, but Whenever we do have an eclipse, there's deep changes happening. There'll be a lunar eclipse on May 5th. That'll happen in Libra. Aries, about our independence, our pioneering spirit. It's a place of birthing something new after we've had all this time of Jupiter being in Pisces and creating a new vision. And then as it goes into Aries, right after this eclipse is happening, it's a very creative / complicated time. So what do we do during eclipse time? We chop wood, we carry water. We have our plan before that time. We just continue to follow through on that. The changes that come up for us, we take our time with things that are emergent in the moment, we pay attention to, and we don't schedule ourselves too tightly, because during an eclipse, there's going to be things that happen emergent. And so we want to have the bandwidth for that. So keep the schedule light during that time. Great for spiritual practice. This is the nodes of the moon casting a shadow over and blocking the sun. There's no other planet that can block the sun. And the node of the moon, the Rahu, is not a planet, but it is a point in the ecliptic, and we sort of treat it that way because of that, although it does not have any house rulership. So again, I will be bringing you a more detailed update around that in plenty of time for it. But right now, just mark on your calendar that you're going to want to keep like about the 17th through the 22nd. Keep things pretty simple. Give that eclipse a pretty good window. That's a it's a good solar eclipse that we are going to have. Then we've got Mercury going retrograde on the 21st and Jupiter moving into Aries on the 21st. I'll finish up with Jupiter on Aries first before I go into the Mercury retrograde. So with Jupiter moving into Aries on the 21st, it's going to stay there for the next year. It's going to be with Rahu in the eclipse pattern till the end of November, before the eclipse pattern shifts out to Pisces and to Virgo in Vedic astrology. So it's always exciting when Jupiter moves. It's big. It's, our guru planet. It brings a lot of light. It brings a lot of grace. And because of that, we want to, this brings light to a certain part of your chart. So again, Aries, there's so much going on here, including a Mercury retrograde coming up. But for this transit, the dates that I want you to watch out for is it's the last week of May through June 5th, where there's going to be a conjunction with Rahu. I will enlighten you about that, I promise, okay? But I want you to lean into your creativity around Jupiter and Aries. What is it you're birthing? What is your mission? What is the next project, that's a representation of your vision and your purpose? What is it that you're birthing? And this is going to be a good placement for Jupiter. I mean, it was great where it was in Pisces. It owns Pisces. But Mars is a friend, and Mars owns this placement. And it's going to be positive for all the fire signs. And even if you're not a fire sign, it doesn't mean it's not positive for you. It's positive for the area of your chart that it falls on. And Jupiter will then be aspecting all the fire signs and whatever those fire signs represent for you, because of the trine aspect that it has. And it'll also be aspecting whatever Libra represents for you. And so that's where it's going to shine its light and bring grace. So it brings grace to a lot of places in your chart. So if the fire houses are all purpose houses, it brings light and grace to all your purpose houses. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we move into that transit. Now, it's going to give you a fresh start for things, and a fresh start for all of us as far as the paradigm that we're in and we've all been percolating on, and where we're going to move things and going next. Very inspiring. You want to birth something new. So let's get clear about what that is. So when we go into the eclipses and the Jupiter Rahu conjunction, we don't get confused. We just are going ahead and working on whatever it is that we have already been clear about what our vision is. If you're not clear, no worries. Use that time for not to pinpoint your clarity, but you can use this whole transformational time really between April 19th and June 5th for a time of exploration, not a time of necessarily absolutely choosing to shift your direction. We always like to wait till the storm passes, and then we can see what our choices are more clearly after that. But this is absolutely about something you're going to have a new beginning on. You're going to want to birth something new, and in order for you to move forward. And Jupiter is a kark of wealth. It's a kark of children, of procreation. And the last time it was here was 2011. So you can reflect back on what it was going on in 2011. History does not repeat itself, but it often rhymes, as Mark Twain said. So you can get a sense of kind of what was going on during that time. And it's also going to line up with Uranus. Now, Uranus is our breakdown to breakthrough planet. So that is a little bit of a tricky aspect too. So I just so want you during this month of April, really through April through May, to know what you're working on, okay? And know what you're birthing, and then to start to move in that direction in a very creative way, and allow your creativity to rule for you, meaning that if things get confusing, because Rahu can confuse things, if it feels confusing or complicated, you default to creativity. How can I be creative about this? It doesn't mean it's time to abandon my mission here in some way. How can I get creative with it? Maybe I'm being called to do it, to create it in a new and different way. So experimentation is great. If it seems like your course is changing, then just stay in the exploration phase of things. And again, once this energy moves, then we'll be much more clear on if it really is changing, or whether it was just you're getting a lot of new information or confusion. Stay grounded. Keep life as simple as you can during this time, so that the emergent things that come up, you have the bandwidth for. I cannot stress that enough. If you overschedule yourself, if you try to make too many things happen, when things come up in the moment, you just won't have the bandwidth for, and that's when things get stressful. Lean into your spiritual practice, lean into your meditation, lean into grounding your body, embodiment, because Rahu is the north node of the moon, which is the head of the serpent, where the south node of the moon, Ketu, is the tail. And we can get stuck in our heads about a lot of things, and that's where complication and drama comes in. The other thing that Rahu can do and again, I'm talking more about as Rahu and Jupiter are coming together, and Mercury's going to come together with Rahu, is it can really complicate things, okay? And it can intoxicate you with things. So you might be intoxicated with a great new book. You could be intoxicated with a relationship. You could be intoxicated with learning something new. You could be intoxicated with some kind of drama that's really not serving you. The problem in that is the more you're intoxicated with something, you kind of have your blinders on, and then you sort of lose your balance with the rest of your life. Even like in your business, or your project, or your parenting, or your relationship, you get too intoxicated with one thing, you don't have the attention and the awareness for everything else. You've got to really watch that. So you want to make sure that you keep life as simple as possible. If it's getting complicated and too complex, you need to pull back in some way. And spiritual practice and grounding and knowing what your purpose is, and paying attention to what's yours to pay attention to, and really having great boundaries and not taking on other people's gossip and their drama will really save you during this time, so that you actually get the benefit. Now, we'll have this transit for a whole year, and so we'll be talking more about Jupiter and Aries for sure. But with Uranus here, this, again, like it's this breakdown to breakthrough period of time. It can create severe weather and those things. But as far as that goes, just the things that are breaking down and wanting to fall away, let's let them crumble and fall away. So if we're keep trying to resurrect a relationship or something in your maybe it's a way you're doing something in your business, a program, a product. Maybe it is something keeps falling away in your life. Well, maybe it's time to just let it fall. And that's one of the reasons the full moon healing circles are so super useful in just doing that cleaning and clearing out of what's not useful anymore. So I want to invite you just to let those things crumble away so that you can grow into who you are next, because that's what these eclipses are so much about. And Uranus is always there, is going to add that extra punch to put some pressure on what's not holding up anymore. It's like a vase that has a crack in it, and maybe the water's just dribbling out a bit. But, if we put too much in it, then, the whole thing breaks. And the truth is that it wasn't stable with that crack in it. So the next thing we have going on here is that Mercury is going to retrograde, and just hang in with me. I know there's a lot of transits this month. So Mercury is retrograding, and it is retrograding in Aries on the 21st of April through May 14th. So you see, we have so much going on. The eclipse, Jupiter, Mercury retrograding, lining up with Rahu. Mercury is going to line up with Rahu. We're going to have the Uranus conjunction. So lots is moving and shaking, so you want to be grounded and stable. So the Mercury retrogrades. So it's good to know what house they're happening for you. They're going to be happening in all the fire signs this year. And what do the fire signs represent? As I talked about Jupiter, that's happening in all the fire signs. And so during the Mercury retrogrades, you're reevaluating at some level relationships, because fire signs are relationships on a general level, but specifically for you, they rule a specific part of your chart. And so, but it being in Aries, we're reevaluating our independence and what is it worth really taking a stand for. Communication can be pretty wonky during this time. During the Mercury retrograde, watch your travel, again, because it's involved with where the Rahu is, the north node of the moon, the eclipses and such. So review making your plans, pay attention to the details of things, double check things, listen. Your communication can be definitely wonky during this time, and give people the grace that their communication could be, wonky during this time. Definitely, technology, transportation. When it gets most wonky is when Mercury is going retrograde. So that's the day before, which is the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd. And that's the highlight of that time. And when it's going direct, and that is going to be May 14th, 15th, and 16th. So if you can avoid signing contracts during those times, or important papers, but if there's something you do have to, and you're clear about it, just double check things and go ahead and move forward, especially if it was something you were already thinking and percolating about. You want to watch out for overexpansion in general around speculation, because Mercury can also be part of that as well. And if you are planning travel, I just really encourage you to double check all of those things. So we'll be talking a little bit more about the Mercury retrograde as we come up to it, but knowing what it is representational for you is super useful, so that as you come up to the retrograde, if this is my purpose houses, I'm taking a closer look at purpose. When the Mercury is retrograde, if I'm in my Mercury cycle, it's going to be, or I'm a Mercury type person, which I am, it's going to be more relevant for you. But the truth is, with all this whole stellium of planets happening, it's relevant for everyone. We want to have a lot of grace during this time. So take care of your details before the retrograde comes, and then you'll be able to have a clearer mind to take care of the details that come up during the retrograde, because you will have to make some decisions, and you're going to want to make them presently, be in touch with your heart, really understand where you're coming from and what is most important to you. I appreciate you subscribing and liking and sharing this. The links for the chart calculator are down below if you don't know what your Vedic Astrology Ascendant is. Also, the eclipse reading link, and also the healing circle, which will be on April 5th, and I will bring you a full moon update then. I really appreciate you being here, and so much love to you.